you'll read this book called If It Ain't Broke, Break It. It's a real book by that name. If it ain't broke, break it. No, no, if it ain't broke, break it. In other words, no changes occur unless you go in the other direction. None will ever occur. And oftentimes we get so afraid of that, but by now it doesn't take long. If you've been around me just for 2 or 3 minutes, not an hour, 2 or 3 minutes, you probably have found my middle name is probably my mother didn't give me one, but I know what it would have been, subject to change. I know exactly what it would have been. So she just left it blank because she said you'll figure it out. And that's exactly what it is. So on this past Sunday when we left, there was another place that I was people. So does Donna have a mic? Does she have a mic as well? That was one of the things we just asked about a minute ago. And because what they had a chance to experience in Sister Gwen is it continues into today. And it was only a few minutes ago that I realized that it does. So you all were not there, and oftentimes we give a chance to talk about what we learned, but there was something that they should have picked up on that would be an asset to help you grasp something different, and it will feed right into probably what we were talking about. So, what did you all learn on Sunday? And so that's where the two of you actually come in. What did you learn on after you left here? When you went to St. Matthew, what did you learn there? Remember, when we tell stories, they're supposed to be told as when you say it to someone, it should be as though they experience it themselves because you were so accurate with what you talked about that they could repeat it without error. That's how you know. Now, if you didn't learn anything, just don't say anything. I mean, that's pretty simple. That's how we do that too.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we would be lying when the pastor said that it was a lively and they were just engaging. He was not exaggerating. From the time we got on the property, we were engaged by the members. They greeted us and they were kind and friendly. From little people.
So I'm gonna let you all come up. I'm gonna sit down so I can be an audience and listen to you too. So
So I know one of the things that we're being taught is the importance of how we carry ourselves and what we say and what we do, whether it's verbally or just how we just interacting with other people. So from the time my experience, from the time I got on the property, everyone was just so kind from where to park and which door to come in. Little things that sometimes we don't think about. We know which door. They don't know what's which way is the way to go for the sanctuary. So they were very engaging. And the first thing that struck me, and I share that with brother, is they were in fellowship with a fellowship level volume. So loud.
what is that? What does that
I
mean?
was going there. A louder volume than what we had a few minutes ago, just as though like right after church. Not excessive, but everybody was hugging each other and talking and catching up. I didn't catch that any conversation would have kept them from being engaged in the fellowship slash going into worship. And so they did that, and there was a period of time, and then they started service. There was a diversity, even those that worked on the altar, because
All
they
right, all right.
followed.
Now let me check you, cause all right, that's good enough to paint the picture.
Okay.
And now I need to tell them what you learned. That was your experience, not tell them what you learned.
Okay. What I
Now go on.
uh what I learned. All right. So for me, what I learned was a visual of what we're being taught. How important the littlest thing, ladies' bathroom, everything. How I carry myself, how I interact, and I got a chance to see it. Also, to go that next step, we were we were told to stand as visitors, and
You still talking about your experience. What did you learn?
are we talking
See,
about the lit part? I'm about to get in trouble.
no, you're getting in any trouble. You're telling it as you know it, but you're
Yes.
describing your experience. You're painting a picture of this is what I experienced.
Yes.
So now we're saying, what did you learn? That's different. Are you all understanding what I'm saying? You can talk about, oh, I had a great time. This was wonderful, fantastic. So then I say, well, what did you learn? Those are points. Those are takeaways. Those are things that they can say, aha, aha, aha. But you're doing great on describing the experience. He can't add anything to it. So when he says something, he cannot talk about the experience because you painted the picture already.
Okay.
Now tell me, what did you all learn from her about the experience? So let's go there, right? How she just described the experience. What did you all just learn from what she just said?
That it was like a unity type of atmosphere of saints uh, operating out of the spirit of love and and things of that nature, and ready for worship,
Yes.
spiritually ready for worship.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What I learned from her is that it was almost like they were in the embassy, and I'm using that word because of rediscover rediscovering church. Um,
Yes.
the body of believers, we're like an embassy, and we're ambassadors of Christ. And so
Yes.
the fellowship, they were friendly, they were loving, they were serving, all those things. So that's what I'm learning from your experience.
Okay. Yes, because that's what I was trying to communicate.
No, no, but
Don't say anything.
no, you did it. It's okay. They said to you what you said, so
Okay.
you don't have to feel like you come back and say, "Did I say it?" So are you following that?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, they said they heard it. So now you describe the experience, but this is a part of this is an instructional piece of saying, okay, there's a difference between an experience
Hmm.
that we paint a picture of
Hmm.
and what we learn in the experience.
Okay.
Now do you all follow what I'm saying? Okay.
So,
Now.
so in the experience, I brought
No. We passed the experience now. Now it's what did you learn? We got
and
the
what
experience.
I learned is uh was dealing with the concept of being lit. When you come into a room as a child of God, we should change the environment. We should have
Okay, back all the way up. Now, you still jump too far ahead. They have no idea as to what you're talking about. See, now you're saying I learned what lit. Lit is based on what? So that means then you might not talk about a passage. What was it talked about? And then see, in other words, if you're painting a narrative, you're a reporter on the scene, then
okay.
that means you're a reporter on the scene. Hey, this. You're just fortunate it's the two of you and it's not them because it would be more than you. It just happened to be the two of you.
Right.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
Everybody learns from what everybody else learns.
Yes.
Now, if you know how hard it is, sometimes when you're the one up here, then it's like, okay, it's me. But everybody's learning because of you. They
Okay.
are so glad it's you. Okay, now do you understand? They're glad it's you.
So I want to go another step, and I'll know if I'm doing it wrong on that. When
Hold on now, don't do that either.
okay, so
You know what? I'm probably doing this wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
go ahead.
No, that's you. What you just said. No,
Ah, yes.
did you learn?
Okay. So what I also learned is I do well with visual aids. So when the pastor
Did
got,
you just figure that out then, or you already knew it?
no, I already knew it.
So then you didn't learn. You follow what I'm saying? You learned already.
Okay, no, this is helping. All right. So, whatever that phrase is supposed to be, when the pastor got in the pulpit, he did his normal that we're used to seeing him take the cloth out and his glasses and everything. But when he lifted his head, he had a cigarette hanging out the side of his mouth. And the cigarette was perfect, like as though he smoked. Visualize it. He's saying this to strangers that don't know him, that's seeing him for the first time. So he's got the cigarette and then he's got a lighter. And he exchanges some information.
Okay, hold that. Hold that.
Come back to the
Hold that.
experience.
Dewan, you're being too helpful, but come on up here now. It's okay. That's okay. It's okay now. Just come on up here because you were not on task. And when you're not being on task there, it's okay to invite them up in rather than, no, there is no reason. Okay, there is no reason. Come on up right up here where I am. She's just fine. Tanisha, right on up here. And whatever that reason was, is see that's it's dead now. Don't come up. She's fine. She's fine. Right on up here with us. She is. No, it's okay. She's right at home. Okay, I tell you what. So what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? It's all right. It's all right. So what's your name? She's all right. She's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. In fact, she's gonna be okay. No, she can be just fine now. I'm praying. All right, so now you can sit anywhere you want to. She see it. You see that smile just came on her face. So, so the one's gonna be able to help you out because before it got to that, there was something else that transpired. And let me see did he get it. Just stay right there. What transpired before this part about cigarette in the mouth?
Well, the audience got engaged. Pastor engaged them, went around. One question was asked about, do you know Jesus? And how would you bring somebody?
All right, so let me help him out. What do you know about Jesus? What's the real question? There's a difference
Yes.
between do you know Jesus and what do you know about him? Okay. Because okay, so I'm gonna let me help paint the picture and then I'll let them say a couple of things. All right. What I did not know, it was the last Sunday of a 90th church anniversary, and all month they had been doing it. So I was to be the last person to speak. I knew that. I found that out when I got there. So I described to them that I'm a soul surgeon. Now that's a significant part to know that, right? Hint, hint. That's a
Yes.
very significant part to say I am a soul surgeon.
Yes.
And before a surgeon does surgery, they go and talk to who surgery is going to be done on. They get
Mhm.
life history, the family history. So this was the intro. Now, so I'm helping them out to bring them back because they say, therefore, I need to know what you knew before we get into this surgery to know how far I need to go and what I need to do to prep you. All right, now I just help you all out again. Now I'm helping to set it up for you. Okay. Now, I'm really using this as a way of saying how we take notes and about how we do this. I gave you all a handout about note taking, if you recalled it, about how to take notes. So this is an example of taking the notes. What you just heard me say, now you can see the significance of how that fits into how everything else leads. Because people ultimately, so as it went along, ultimately will say that how do you tell someone how to accept Jesus? As they talking about what they knew, it kept going until somebody was able to say, because they said, I pray for them, I asked them to do this, and I asked them to do that, until somebody gave the gospel from Romans chapter 10. It just kept going until we get to the point to say, if you really know him, you ought to be able to tell somebody how to accept him. So what do you know about him? And it's just to say, because one person said it, now that means we can proceed and the gospel has already been given. So there won't be the need for an invitation because now anybody here knows how to accept him. Right. So that's how it starts. To just say, now we know where you are. Now we know where you are. So I just help set the tone for them. Now I just help set the tone. All right. Now, are you all understanding what I'm talking about? Taking now, Gwen might be able to help you all out. If you can see if she can help you all because she was there too. Now, so
Right.
okay. But anyway, this is about how you take proper notes, how you take proper notes and then move yourself into that space so that it allows you to be able to tell someone about what you've experienced so they can benefit as well from what you have experienced. Does this help to know again why I keep saying it's so important to take notes so you can tell the story,
Ye-
so
Yes.
that you can tell the story?
And
Okay,
to reread them.
okay. So now
Mhm.
let's see where you are. Let's keep going. Let's see where you are. Let's work it.
All right. So,
Anything else?
um, I mean, beside what I already said,
Yeah.
right? The
Whatever you all say is going to tie into the night when it all boils down. So it's okay. Okay, go on.
So what I took from Sunday, it was um, reinforced in my mind to be mindful when I go into an environment, regardless of how people may be handling my handling themselves. It's important how I handle myself. I had some issues even today, and I was able to draw from that. That if I got on the same plane or the same train that they were on, what came across as a pleasant person, because that's what they kept saying, that I smile and I was friendly and trying to help when I wasn't able to offer them exactly what they needed. I knew the importance of carrying myself a certain way, and that was something that reinforced in my mind. The point I wanted to make about the cigarette, they didn't know him, and the way he was using it as a visual, they had no way of knowing if he knew he was serious about, can I light this in here? Because that's what he did. By now he's on the floor. He's changing information with different people until he got to that person he mentioned in Romans. And then you could see
So you got them all back, but the cigarette came after the message. So there
it
again,
came at the end.
no, you're right. That's why I know
Yes, sir.
you got to connect it.
And you can
That's
make those
it.
shifts.
No, that's after they clarified about Jesus.
Yes.
So then it's like, let me come back up here now and get started to
The
doing this
cigarette,
surgery.
the cigarette was on the floor.
Christ started.
So he had already put it.
It's
Yes.
okay. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. It's not.
Help me to
I know I'm so fascinating and it just throws people off. I know that. I mean, you were just mesmerized that you got you got mixed messages. I get it.
but I was able to use it to
It's okay. It's okay. So let's see if the one can help you out some more.
So the question,
Now come on so they can see you. So if they want to look at you and say, who is this talking? They want to make sure they see you.
so the first question, what do you know about Jesus? That was the first thing that happened. So, and what does it effect does it have on you? And so my thing is that Jesus is my light in the darkness. That's something I wrote down when I was taking my notes. He's always my light in those dark times. I can go to him and then I'm rejuvenated. I'm lit. And when you're lit, people want to be in your company.
But you got to finish telling what lit means just by saying lit. They don't know what you're talking about. Are you all understanding that? Do you know what he's talking about still? What you all are doing is just taking the topic, are you lit? And then you got to tell the
So
story.
being lit attracts attention to you. That's what being lit is. People can see you. You illuminate when you come into their presence. It's also people want to be around you. People are different when they come into your company. They're better off than they were before they talk with you or been around you. You get their attention from
All
your
right.
actions, not your
All right.
words.
Anything else?
Uh, in that same conversation, Pastor talked about church folks versus saints. Church folks versus saints. Saints come to church for a reason. Excuse me, saints come to church for a reason. Church folks may come just to hang out, maybe similar to a country club or gym where you go work out and see people and have a good time. But as saints, you're attracted here by the Holy Spirit and you hungry to get some information, some words, some news, something good that you can take out and become even more lit when you leave, more lit than you were when you came in. So we want to constantly keep lighting and stay lighted. We don't want that light to dim. Even when we're going through, we should be lit.
So let's see if Gwen has something. Need to check. Was she's still trying to come in. Okay, then well they really didn't say everything because I'm gonna tell you how you can find out whether they said everything or not.
I got one
Go
more.
go to St. Matthew's Missionary Baptist Church, East St. Louis. I don't know whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, but you'll find the whole thing. Then that way you'll be able to tell. But it was to just try to say, to give an opportunity to paint a picture, because the important thing now is how we connect these dots. So I'm not making what they say right or wrong versus talking to us about a process and as to how we can actually go forward in a much better way and to realize the significance of it. Hold on before you say that, Sister Wanda had something.
I would like to be lit. Can you tell me how do I become lit?
Yes, I can. And that was the main point. That was pretty good. Did we make some eye contact or something? You have to read your word. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to be word deep. You can't be a drive-by, okay? And because drive-bys don't stay. So if you're not reading the word on a regular basis, you're not going to stay lit. It's going to go dim. But each time that you do open that book and you begin to get it in you, you stay illuminated. You have that glow about yourself. And people want that glow, especially when they see you going through adversity.
Can I add to that?
If you can.
Okay. Um, we were taught that we can't, I thought we could use our notes. We can't get lit on our own. We have to be accountable and we have to be in fellowship.
Okay, you all did good. So let me get into this. Thank you all. Because everybody knows that you're under major scrutiny if you're called up. So But I promise you, they owe you all lunch or something because you really helped them out by it not being them. So it really, it really helped them out. They were so say like, "Woo, I'm glad it was not me." You notice what Gwen said? I don't keep me out of it. You know what she said? Leave me alone. You're all- Don't ask me anything, right? Right. So connecting the dots, this reality is life in and of itself. Uh, now that one of the hymns of the church, "Hold to God's unchanging hand," says, "Time is filled with swift transitions," and it keeps on and it keeps on. In other words, it's and life is really a series of adjustments. Life is a series. Living successfully, should I say, is a series of adjustments. It's what it boils down to. There's going to be something that you are facing even after you've just gotten over something else. There is something that you will be facing. If at any point there isn't something that's coming your way, then that says you're no longer growing because growing does not take place unless there is something to get to the other side of. That's the only way, because then it becomes less of us. So there are three passages we'll take a look at. So tonight we want to really talk about stay close, stay close, stay close. So John 15, verses 1 through 5, listen there, and then we'll go to Colossians chapter 3.
I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing.
So, are there some times in which you feel so good about having resisted something or gotten over something? And you're like, yeah, then I didn't fall for it. I was craving it, that extra thing or whatever it is, something that you could have gone there with. You didn't lose it. You stayed focused and you feel good about it. You kind of experience that. And then you feel victorious that I'm over that hurdle. And then as a result, spiritual arrogance sits in because it's like, yes, got it. But here it says, you will not be able to do that. Take a look at that again. It says, without me, you can't do anything. It says, without me, you can do nothing. But for every victory that you get, God's desire is you're stronger for the next encounter. The ultimate thing is so that you're stronger for the next thing. Really, He's only giving you the strength to get past this thing to make you stronger for the next thing, to make you stronger for the next one. It isn't to sit there and salivate about, I got over it. And this is so fantastic, and you find yourself bragging about it. It says, I was strengthening your muscles for something else. Yesterday, I went to this new fitness system that how this is set up is that in 20 minutes, they can put the pressure of 150 workouts on you in 20 minutes. So strong that you could only do this once a week because it would have put so much pressure on the parts that are being targeted that your muscles have to come back down over the next 3, 4, 5 days. All of this in 20 minutes once a week. So yesterday was to just do a demo, to just do a 5-minute demo in which what they would do is say, okay, we just want to work on biceps and triceps. And they give you the chance to determine how much, notice this part, pressure that you can take. And they gauge it to say, we need to get it to about a 6 on a 10 where you can start feeling this. And then they take you through these drills. And the goal is to take the muscles to the next level so that there's some resistance, which says if there's no resistance, then there is no toning, strengthening, or anything, unless there's some resistance. Now, the easiest thing is to say, "Oh yeah, I can just do that. No big deal. I can, hey, I got this. I can do 100 of these like that." But so that's not the goal. The goal is when will it start causing you to feel the pressure, and then continue, and then give X number of seconds for them to relax, and then you start back over again. Literally, that's a picture of what God is saying. Spiritual, with your spiritual muscles, I want to bring it to a point to where if this is not requiring some pressure or resistance on your part, if this is so easy and common for you, this will not help you because you will not pay attention. So he says, therefore, I have to put you in situations where you clearly know this is not an automatic for me. So then that way, you're going to say, God, I got to stand with you here. And then you're able to say to somebody else, it was my standing there that I was able to see, because here's the thing, the fitness coach is talking you through every part of no, only do it for this length of time, do it for that length of time, then stop. And they're doing this demo. Well, the Holy Spirit then is saying, you know what? I want you to do this. I'm gonna let you do that. And you're only gonna go to this point if you listen. And you won't know it's the Spirit speaking unless you're in the Word to know that sound. Because then you won't know the sound of, don't do that. Don't say that. Don't look at them like that. I no, do not. Don't call them something in your mind. You said, and you got to know. So that picture, and so what they had these pieces that would go around, but when they're ready to do the full blown workout, it's a body suit with all these tension points that will go around where everywhere where you say, okay, I want here, 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 and these tension points, and they can set this so that it put that kind of pressure on the parts of the body. But you're not ready for all of that until they can see that you can handle these individual things. So there are some things God will not allow us to experience too quickly because it will break us. So he just walks us through some things until he said, okay, now I can see you can manage 3.5 pounds. So next time I'll make it 5 because I noticed that you can manage 3.5. So the next challenge you face is going to be more difficult than that last one. It's going to be more difficult than that last one because the last time it was just 2 people talking about you. This time I got 10, and it'll be some you never thought who would. The first two, you didn't know anything about them, and you said they don't know me like that, but they was tearing into you, just tearing into you. But then it says, there's some others that you know that you say, I never would have felt, but you had gotten victory with the other ones. And he said, don't you remember? Now, this is the spirit of God saying, don't you remember? I brought you through that. I brought you through that. So why would you get thrown off by this new 10? By this new 10? What do you think about that? Have you ever been there? It's like you say things like, if it's not one thing, it's another one. It's something else that's coming. When am I going to get a break? Those kind of things, those kind of conversations. When am I going to get a break? It just seems like there's always something going on, and that nothing's going on in their life, but something is going on in my life. And, though that's the deal. So, any reflections? Because we don't want to go too fast on this. Any reflections on what you just heard?
When you were talking about the spiritual resistance, I was thinking about this term that people say, God won't put more on you than you can bear. Could you talk about that. Is that in alignment with what you're saying here?
He doesn't have to put something on you that you can bear because he's your burden bearer. So here's a promise. Here's a promise in Matthew. He gives us this out. Well, first part is 1 Corinthians 10:13. There's no temptation. If you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, it says there's no temptation that's come our way that he doesn't give us an out. That he always gives us an out. So he gives us a way of escape. But in Matthew 10, uh, the promise is when he says, I don't really have to take you through all of this. Verse 28, I'm sorry, Matthew 11, verse 28. Come unto me, all you who have burdens, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. So he's saying, when it's coming at you, it's time to come to me. That's the contrast. He says, if you try to deal with it, and then he says, if you come to me, here's the trade. Take my yoke, and I'll take yours. Take my yoke and give me that was troubling you, and then you'll find rest for your soul. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So there's the switch. Not more than you can bear, but he'll let you keep it if you don't bring it to him. He'll let you keep it. Have you ever have you ever sometime been so full of yourself that sometimes folk want to help you for real, and you don't want to let people help you because you want to be able to say you did it, I handled it, and you struggle your way through something. You work your way through something instead of allowing literally divine intervention comes in human form. Oftentimes we looking for this miraculous unseen thing for God to do, and clearly he sends humans. See that person that you met that knows more than you about a subject matter that you're struggling with, that relationship that's been established, that's God. Now sometimes we think, well, I'm gonna see God about who were you just talking to? Like, who were you just talking to? Who were you trying to figure out? You're trying to figure out insurance, and you know somebody who's an insurance agent. So why are you trying to figure out insurance? Talk to them. Do you think for 1 minute I'm going to waste time trying to deal with the computer? Because if Michael don't fix it, we're going to put him out of the church. You follow what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to be wasting time trying to figure a tech issue out. You should be able to say something else. Right. Handle him. And if he don't, then figure it out. You shouldn't be wasting no time trying to figure that out. But do you know we end up, I'm gonna keep wrestling with it and Googling it and YouTubing it and everything. It's time. And you wonder whether God has answered? Who gave him the awareness that he has? Really? So if that came from God, and you're looking for something to come from God about an area that you need more awareness in, duh. That's why he talks about relationships. Because he's always trying to, he really is trying to do a transfer, instead of you being the end all to your do all. He's trying to do a transfer. So he's in it. So when he's saying, you don't have to go through that because somebody can tell you another way to do it. Someone can tell you another way to do it. The question is, do you keep saying, I'm going to seek God for something he's answered right in front of your face, but you don't want to hear it from them? You want God to tell you. He did tell you. He did. Have you turned God down? because you thought he wouldn't do it through a human, and you struggle your way through it. And the answer was there all the time, and then sometime you stumble into it all over again.
You said that, and I thought about not just the human that you like, but
Right?
one that you don't like.
Think about it. Yeah, then he said the last person. Do you remember? I don't. We maybe go back and track it down. We probably need to replay this and put this back out there on what you can learn from Donald Trump. Do you recall when I did that? We
And
might need to go back and Jericho and Michael and find that. And this is a great time to put it back out there. What you can learn from Donald Trump. And the thought of when you hear it, you say nothing. Not true. Not true. Not true. Not true. So, in other words, it's always if God will use a donkey who could not talk, and he was smarter than the rider. Are you following it? The donkey was smarter. He could see better than the rider. And God said, "Well, I need to say something because he's not listening to anything else. Maybe he'll listen if you talk." So then he said, "I'll use him and get him to say something because he didn't listen to something else. I mean, now you're gonna do that." And then he said, "What the hitting me like that for?" If he was a ghetto donkey, he would have told him a thing or two. He- what the I said, what the you hit me like that for? I mean, can't you just see it? Can't you just see it? Don't you know if a hood dog could talk, it would not be it would not be that. So in other words, God says, I need for you to stay close because I'm really walking you through some things to get you ready for something else. See, the more challenges that you face, the better equipped you are to minister to other people. Second Corinthians 1 still talks about he gives you these spiritual notches in your belt to be able to help somebody else, that you've got a variety of things that you're able to walk alongside of them about. It's what he is saying. So the next passage is in Colossians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. Make verse 15 through 17, I'm sorry.
And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which also you were called in one body.
Now notice what it says. Let it rule or be in charge. And just saying, will you, in other words, allow it to? Because that's why he wants it to be. He said, will you allow? In other words, he said, peace can rule in your heart, where you're not thrown off and disturbed by things that happen. Sometimes you look at some folks and say, nothing bothers you, does it? Like, nothing bothers you. That that's the peace of God. And literally is that where you don't murmur and complain, because when that thing kicks in, there is no peace. There is no peace. And you could have just shouted yourself happy a few minutes earlier, and before you know, Mr. Murmur or Sister Complain showed up, coming out of the same mouth. Then it says in James chapter 3, how can blessing and cursing come out of the same mouth? Either it needs to be bitter or it needs to be sweet. It needs to be one. So the challenges are going to be there, but it says allow peace to rule. When peace rules, then certain other things automatically follow. Automatic. Keep going.
And be thankful. Let the word of Christ
So, and what did you just say?
Be thankful.
Thankful. Okay. The last time something didn't go the way you wanted to, how thankful were you? Did you stop and say, thank you, that it is as well as it is? Well, you say, but it's not well, but it is as well as it is. There's a difference between saying it is well and it is as well as it is. Because there's always a not so well, a not so well. Keep going.
Let the word of Christ
Uh,
dwell.
instead of let's say allow.
Allow the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching, and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord.
So one of the things I'm going to challenge you all about getting, well, we probably have enough of them here, but a hymn book. So we probably have enough to get one to everyone. But was you heard Elizabeth back there? But in order to have value, would have to charge you for it. And the reason is because it has to have some value. Just remember, the church doesn't need it, but you need to invest in it for the sake of saying, now it's mine, and you can put your name and write in it and do all of that. But it will allow you then to do what this says. Hymns. Hymns are different from contemporary gospel. Hymns are different from, they're different. They're different. So even when you don't know the melody, you can find out by going to YouTube. You take the title of that and you say, I never heard this before. But if you read the words, just read the words. And then you can create a melody from the words. You don't have to even know it for real. You start paying attention to the word, suddenly it slows you down from a lot of other things. But then you can't do that if you're not exposed to yourself. Then the other thing is, and you'll probably experience me doing this all the time, spiritual songs are they just come out. Spiritual songs are unrehearsed right there. And you can. You said, no, I can't do that. What does that say? Go back and read that passage again. Let's see what it says. Read that again.
Allow the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord.
To who? So it doesn't matter who hears or how they try to judge what it sounds like. Now that's why when I get on these psalmists who like to become America Got Talent and American Idol and decide how well somebody's hitting it and not, well, they're judging them. They're not allowing it. And it wasn't as unto them. You follow me? But they made that determination like they were singing as unto them instead of as unto the Lord. Because they said, well, I mean, they didn't sound right. Was it as unto you? Or maybe it didn't sound right to you. And I already know it. And I already know he's sitting down there like, well, oh, they were on it today. Sopranos had it today. Altos were on it. They were hitting them notes today. Didn't you hear? Tell the altos were on unto you or unto the Lord. Isn't it great? It's not unto you. You see the shift? You see the shift? It's unto the Lord. Which means you can sing loud and wrong according to somebody else, but right unto the Lord. It's okay, but right unto the Lord, because he says, unto the Lord. Now, see, that should change the music ministry, not only here, but everywhere else where people are tuning in to say the music ministry, that we don't need judges. It says, as unto the Lord. And you don't do a pass or fail. It's as unto the Lord. Mm-hmm. Bless your name. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So let that last time be the last time. Verse 17. And this seals it.
And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him.
Okay, so when I was determining whether a tenor, baritone, alto, or bass was hitting it, it wasn't as unto the Lord. That's for sure. It was according to me. It's according to me. And when I looked at what somebody had on and decided they needed to have a new seamstress or a new tailor or something and get fitted or have somebody to design their robes, then it wasn't as unto the Lord. It was as unto me. Or when I saw caked on makeup that was inches too higher than it needed to be, and I couldn't tell whether it was their skin or whether it was a mask, and then, it wasn't as unto the Lord, it was as unto me. Or when I saw somebody with a weave, and then I decided to say, "Oh, I can tell that's a weave," it wasn't as unto the Lord, it was as unto me. Hmm. Hmm. This is a whole nother world, isn't it? It's a whole nother world. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Verse 17, read that again. I'll read it.
And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him.
Okay, so let me stop here for a moment. I have one more passage to get into. So, what are your thoughts at this stage? See, when the word is taught properly, you shouldn't be comfortable. You should be under examination and say, "Ooh, ooh, I need to make sure." When a photographer is taking pictures, you know what they do when it's a group picture? They're always saying, "I need for so and so to come right in here. No, I need for them to move over in here. No, let me bring this person down to here," in terms of doing that, because they're framing it and saying, "This is the only way it's going to look right." But how much time do we spend framing ourselves spiritually as opposed to physically in a mirror? You think? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because what the framing does, it protects you. He says, if this is, God says, these are my boundaries, this is how it's supposed to be. If I get over here, I'm off. If I get over here, I'm off. Now, I could still hang this and say to people I'm in, but I'm really not. Because it originally was set right here, and it was me who moved, although I made it appear that I was still the same. Because I'd stayed like this. But I had moved. Because the angle now, camera angle is totally different from where it really was. And that really is what this is all about. And this next passage in Galatians, when it says stay close, this is the only way. Nobody gets to this place any other way. Nobody does. It's the same for all of us. This part where they were talking about being lit looks like this. This is what being lit looks like. These verses in Galatians chapter 5, verse 16 and verse 22 and 23.
I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Okay, now read that backwards.
Flesh, the lust. Fulfill not shall you, and Spirit the in walk, then say I.
Doesn't that sound so confusing? Okay. Because he says, walk in the Spirit, then you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Which would say, if you don't walk in the Spirit, you will fulfill the lust of the flesh. And it doesn't say pray about it, fast. It just says do it. It just says, oh. In other words, that you will be walking. The question is, will it be this? Okay, verse 22 and 23. Now to get down to that.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self control. Against such there is no law.
Okay, why don't you keep reading?
And those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh with its passion and
Okay,
desires.
stop there for a moment. Read 24 again.
And those who are Christ's
Stop right there. Who have given themselves over to him. Keep going.
have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires.
Keep going.
If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the
Now
Spirit.
notice what it says, if, if. So go back to these other passages in John. Abide in me. Far from me, you can do nothing. He wants you to produce much fruit. Let the word of Christ dwell in richly. So the promise is John 15. The process is Colossians 3. The manifestation is Galatians 5. Now you begin to see it. Go on to verse 26.
Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another.
Because it says when you don't walk in the spirit, the rest of it start coming out. Then that's when we start doing all that judging and looking at people the wrong way and doing all those other things. Because literally it says we're not comfortable with ourselves. We're not comfortable with ourselves. Because if you're okay with yourself, you can celebrate anything good that's happening with somebody else. Even in your own mind, if you say, I don't know how in the world could they be doing this? Seem like they're getting stuff going right and they ain't no good, and most people know they're not. And it looks like it's turning out, and I'm working as hard as possible with little to show for it. It could frustrate you, and your flesh could start rearing up, and you start trying to figure out how did it happen for them and why it's not happening for you. But it says, don't be looking at them like that. You just celebrate the fact that it could be worse for you than it is now. I mean, do you know anyone who literally is starving? Do you literally know somebody that you're close to that's starving, that's homeless, that don't have anything to wear? Is somebody in your inner circle like that? That doesn't mean you don't know about, but in your immediate circle, is there anybody that falls into that category? Honestly, can you think of anybody? And you're wondering whether he's looking out. You say, well, I barely got enough to make it. But you are. But you are. And even for what you see, what appears to be so great with somebody else, they could be living in high debt and it just doesn't look like it. But that they're chasing to catch up, and you're looking at something else, and you're thrown off by what you see, and you say, I want to be like that. And then you find out the real story, and you say, no, I really don't want to be like that. I'm so glad that I'm not like that. But if I'm not giving thanks, as always, back to the past, giving thanks, then what happens is I'll start looking and becoming envious and start saying, wow, they got that and they have this and I don't have this and I don't have that. And it's like, okay, well, what would you do with it if you had it? Hey, what would you do? What would you do? It's just like I got a report in the last 24 hours about some pay increases that two people are giving that neither one of them saw it coming. Neither one of them saw it coming. In fact, the day before, one of them was told, okay, well, not today. Uh-uh. See, if he knew me, he would not be calling now. So that's why, like, and the day before, one of these individuals were told, "You're not good enough to be considered to be elevated." Less than 24 hours, he's called into the office to say, "We're about to change your title and write this increase in starting now." Less than 24 hours. And we had talked to him the day before. His head was down. He was so out of it. And it was to say, at least now you know how you're thought of. And he sent this note to say, "I need to tell you this good news. I need to tell you this good news." I walked in. I walked in. And they called me into the office and said, "I was thinking about our conversation yesterday. And I have determined I'm going to elevate you to this new status and write this in on your behalf." Then I'm going to tell you somebody else, and they'll tell you themselves. Remember, in June, we emphasized here about giving up. Okay, we'll let somebody tell a story. Well, we're going to give a chance on time for folk to tell a story in terms of what God's been doing. One person was told within the last 36 hours, "We're going to add $11,000 to your salary." Just call them in the office. Just call them. Just call them in the office. Just call them in the office and say, "Oh yeah, I just need to tell you this. Oh yeah, by the way," it was almost like nonchalant. "Oh yeah, by the way, I want to tell you this is what we're about to do. Okay, I'll see you later." Yeah, well, it didn't have Michael Schultz on it, and now that part of it is for sure. Uh, and the first thing the person said, "I am so glad that we were challenged to increase giving in June. I see it right now." In other words, it's saying if you stay close to what God's doing, then He's going to do something different. So, in other words, He said, when He knows you are ready for something, when He knows you are ready for something, is there anything that He could not allow to happen when it's time for it to happen with you? And so many times we are making premature requests of Him and haven't grown through the previous thing to make us stronger for the next thing. If he can trust you with pain and adversity, he knows trusting you with stuff is easy. So he knows that's easy. When he can trust you with dealing with difficult people, when he can trust you with things not going your way and you still giving him praise for life, for opportunities to tell the good news, giving thanks in your heart, singing and making melody in your heart as unto him, and giving thanks in everything you do in thought, word, or deed. He said, "Because I can trust you and you did not stop thanking me, then I always reward one who thanks me." Because now I'm going to give them something to thank me even more for. So, but he was looking at, how did you respond when it did not go your way? When it did not go your way, he said, how do you respond then? Because he's saying, I'm determining what's in your heart. What's in your set goals. I want you to set goals. But if your attitude about other people is often, just remember again, God sends people as an answer. And when you don't accept the answer, then what he does, he says, well, I'm going to put you on hold. Literally until further notice. Now, maybe you haven't noticed it. If you ever ordered something and they told you there was a certain delivery date, and then you get this note saying delivery delayed and delivery date has been changed. And then it's 5 days later than what they told you. Then now 5 days later, they tell you again, back up in shipping. And then now you're so flustered because you say, I paid for this. You told me overnight. And then now this is 7 days later, and you're just so out of it. And you want to call everybody and write multiple letters to everybody, which still won't speed anything up because it's a shipping delay. And now you're all flustered. Then finally, when you get it, you realize you're not all that excited anymore because you waited. And what God is saying, when I put something on hold, put something on delay, I'm really checking your attitude, checking your attitude to see those who wait on the Lord. Isaiah chapter 40. Those who wait on the Lord, Isaiah chapter 40, shall renew their strength. In other words, become stronger, stronger. So he said he's interested in instant gratification. He only does that if he has to, when there's something desperate that's on the line. But in general, he says, James chapter 1, it is the trying of your faith that matures you. Because I want you to learn something. I want you to learn how to wait. I mean, you just don't throw a mixture of food together and eat it before it's cooked. You take your time and wait until it's cooked. It doesn't matter how much you want it right now, you wait until it's cooked. And we know how to wait on things. It's that, some things take longer to cook than other things, and we will wait it out in anticipation, mouth watering and everything, but we know it's not time, it's on the clock, and we will wait it out. And then here God is saying, wait on me. And we're sitting up here, God, I asked you last week, a little bit earlier today. You ain't done nothing. It's nighttime already. You said you're an on time God. Time is going by. I mean, you're just all over the place. Instead of being about the Father's business. Now, and I tell you, I'd be finding money all the time, right? So I was going to throw something else away today, and I found this. So I need to see, does anybody need? Wait a minute. Wait, okay. I said need. I didn't say won't. I says anybody need. I says anybody need. I mean, I just found it because I was getting ready. I was just saw this paper, this balled up paper in my bag. So then I was getting ready to throw it away. I said, let me just tear it up. And then when I started tearing it, I found this in it. So if anybody, so therefore it would have been gone from me. So if you need it, then I'll give it to you. Even if it was $1, even if it was $1, the question is, do you need it? So I hear what you say. So you say, if you need it, okay, you what? He's the Grinch that stole Christmas. See that? That's 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 what that's what that is. So in other words, the Lord's saying, I want to grow and mature you, but I can't grow or mature you unless I get you on the other side of something that's in front of you now. He said, if I don't have a dilemma for you to face, then that says you've stopped growing. Growth requires a dilemma. You don't grow. If it's like, oh, I know what's next, you don't grow. You don't grow. You're overconfident. You don't grow. Figure it out. You're not growing. You're not trusting God. You're trusting yourself. You are trusting yourself. You know why I'm not concerned about stuff? Because I can't do nothing about it. I ain't do, you just gotta understand. I don't care. I just really don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks about me, say about me. I don't care because it's not going to change me. Are you understand? It don't matter what they say. It don't matter what they think because the focus is still the same. I gotta honor him and respond to you right. Even the ones who have the wrong agenda, I'm responsible for responding properly, not being concerned about how I'm responded to. That only happens if you stay close and stay in, and then to just realize there is something else that he wants me to learn. Something else that he wants me to learn. I mean, that's the deal. That's how you lit. That's how you lit. But we'll take 5 minutes before we go just to see if there's any, any
Pastor, there's a
any
good example
takeaways.
of that same principle that you're speaking of with David and how God prepared David. We saw David when he fought the lion and he fought the bear, and it was preparations for him, right? Dealing with Goliath, and then all of the other stuff, dealing with Saul as it gets further along and stuff like that. So I completely hear you. I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah, I'm waiting in case anybody does, but dealing with racism as a child in early childhood makes it easy for me to deal with them now because racism is racism is racism. It's still racism. It's just a different decade, but it's still the same thing. And just for you to know, pay attention. The indication that we're clearly in the last days when you see what the Supreme Court is doing now and how they are shifting everything back, tearing down things like EPA, FDA, talking about just look at how they're flipping everything back to pre-Jim Crow era. If you really redlining and housing, just pay attention. Pay attention to how this thing shifts. This is a spirit. And this is what he said in the last day. He said, this is what you're looking at. That's why so many countries are making mockery of the USA right now. Because they're saying, you're doing this and you're telling us to not do that. But we see you doing this. And they'll say, don't send nobody over here telling us what to do. We're looking at what you're doing to your own people. Now that's what they're saying because they're like, what? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you touched on it because about the redlining in housing, and now I have a perspective from what you said. The more challenges that you face, the better equipped you are to assist others. And it seems like once something is solved or making way in housing, then it's flipped and it's like, Lord, now what is going on? But now I realize that I'm in it so I can help others. And it's not comfortable because it's like, okay, let me go back, just to do one thing. But he's pushing me out there in those challenges so I can go and help someone else. So it's making me realize, dang, I guess I was a little selfish because this wasn't even about me, and the challenge is necessary to push me out there to stand for those that don't have a voice to speak for themselves.
And it's more of that to come. Now, Ron, let me just reference something he had asked me about earlier. So, all right, the the couples got this note about me meeting with them on Sunday, and I said to him, I have to respond when the Lord tells me. So it's like he said, now, do it now. And so, Jerica, you will be hearing from me about how you can pull the singles together because I need to meet with you all too. But because there are some things that need to say to couples, there are some things that need to be said to singles. And the reality is this, couples, I'll just give you this bit that I know. You can become so comfortable until you stink because you think it's okay, and it's not. I'll just leave it right there. Comfort produces stench because that means you stayed too long. He said, how are you making it? You sit down in the same spot too long and odor will come out. I don't care where you sit. Just keep sitting there. Body odor is coming. if you just keep sitting there. You don't have to be smart to figure that out. Just keep sitting somewhere for a long time. I promise you, body odor is coming. Was dead. Because the dead cells are going to start dripping and it's going to produce odor. So you all have to remind me of what I just said now. A couple, you all have to remind me. Oh, I know I'm supposed to get it. And then there's something else that I need to say. And then, okay. Because you got to be prepared to help some other folk, to help some other folk. Because people are searching. People are searching. So, any last thing, anybody else? Oh, I found something else.
Uh,
It's even more than that last one I gave you.
what you said is very true about people are searching and people are looking. Uh, because I was just on the phone at work with someone, helping them with utility assistance, and talking along about some things. And I did share some Bible verses and some words with the young lady. And then she asked, could I be her mentor from doing that? So it is true that people are looking and they are searching for us, the people of the kingdom, to be able to be disciples and to minister to them the proper way.
Okay, anything, anybody else? Now here's the deal, and then I'll say this, I'm done. Every time truth is spoken and you're exposed to it, he holds you accountable for it not to remain with you. Because you're supposed to be making transfers. Transfer. Every time you don't make a transfer, you take something away. You miss out on something he would do. You say, well, what are you talking about? Matthew 25, when he made a distribution of wealth, which means spiritual, intellectual wealth, the one who did not transfer, he took it and they lost out because they didn't use what he gave. It's a transfer. It's a transfer. The one with 2 talents, transfer. The one with 5 talents, transfer. The one with 1 talent, then he said, I'm taking that from you and I'm giving to the ones who make the transfers. So when you hear and you don't transfer, you lose something. You would have lost treasure that he had intended for you because he exposed you to it. Right? And then when you look up and something's not there, all you gotta ask, did I make a transfer? It's like, for instance, uh, how many times was I talking about the journals were a tool to transfer information? And they sit there until said, we just won't do them. We just will not do them because they're not being used as a transfer. And if they're not being used as a transfer, then we're not a good steward. So therefore, we need to shut them down until there's some reality to say, I recognize some value. But in the meantime, we just won't have any because we emphasize transfer, and I was still taking piles with me. That's what that's all about. No, no. See, that would be a knee-jerk reaction to something that had been encouraged before. It'll have to be now to build a case as to why it's something that ought to take place. Because it was watching and watching and watching, and I just watched and watched and watched and watched how many times it was still there. and it stayed over an extended amount of time to say we're not transferring, we're not taking notes and transfer them to people. I know that we're not, because if we were, more people would want more. Father, we just thank you for everything that you're doing and how you challenge us and how you're patient with us. We thank you for that. And even for those who are listening here, that you would watch over them as they go, and those who have tuned in this evening and those who will at some point, we ask that you would allow your spirit to move inside of them. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.